What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with Tricky Jim at Full Grip Games. In today's video, I'm going to be showing off round 4 of the OmniPoke Online Play League, where I face off against fellow Pokemon TCG content creator Rare Candy. If you haven't already, make sure to check out Eric Smith's YouTube channel, Rare Candy TCG. He does an amazing job producing some very cool Pokemon TCG content over there. Let's get right into the games. If you're not familiar with the OmniPoke Online Play League, it's a really cool league that Jack and Joe from OmniPoke put together for content creators, where content creators get paired up and face off once a week in a best of 3 conquest series. A conquest series means that you bring 3 decks to the table, and once you win with a deck, you cannot use that deck again. So we're trying to win 2 games, but you can't play the same deck twice if you win with it. I'm going to be starting off with Dark Box here. This is the Hydreigon Dark Box deck that we've been showing off on stream. If you haven't already, make sure to check out the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/TrickyJim, where I stream live Pokemon trading card game content every single weekday. This deck is a ton of fun to play. You get out the Hydreigon with the Dark Squall ability, which allows you to rain as many darkness energies from your hand onto the board as you would like during your turn. And it looks like Eric Smith is going to be playing a Eternatus VMAX deck, and he has a really rough opening hand here. You can see he played the Dark City down, had to just use Dark Asset for a couple of cards, and it's actually going to be committing that Darkness Energy to the Crobat on the first turn. This makes me really excited for a number of reasons. First of all, no turn 1 energy drop on an Eternatus. That's great. Also, we have the Dark City in play, which is exactly what we want. You can see I'm thinking about attaching to my Greninja and Zoroark Tag Team GX, but I'm actually going to be looking at the Hoopa GX. I can go and use Rogue Ring to set myself up a Hydreigon on the second turn guaranteed. And since I know that Eric more than likely will not be attacking my Hoopa for any serious damage, I don't even really need to go get myself a supporter. So I decide to just discard one of these darkness energies here. I'm thinking about a Day change, but as I kind of look at the hand a little bit more, do I actually need to Day change? I'm not guaranteed to get myself a Dino on the first turn if I do that. And since Eric is not actually putting any pressure on my board, since he didn't get an energy drop onto an Eternatus V turn 1, I'm considering just grabbing the Dino out of the deck, retreating into Hoopa, and using Rogue Ring to go fetch myself 2 cards that I want out of the deck. And obviously those 2 cards that I'm going to get are going to be a Rare Candy and a Hydreigon. Now it's interesting because I could have gone for a more aggressive play. I could have Day changed this hand. I could have Rogue Ringed for a Research. I could have Rogue Ringed for a Marnie or something like that. But I'm kind of thinking through my play right now, and as I'm thinking through it, I think, I know that Eric is not going to be aggressing on my board this next turn. The worst thing I have to worry about is a Venomous Fang from a Crobat V. I'm not really concerned about that. So I'm just going to go get myself the Rare Candy Hydreigon. All of my Pokemon have free retreat because of the Dark City that Eric put into play. So I'm just going to take this moment to set up my Hydreigon. I know that Eric might get, an energy drop on the Eternatus this next turn. And once I set up my own Hydreigon, then I will go in and I will gladly Rogue Ring for a Research or a more aggressive supporter, maybe a Research and a Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX or something like that. So I'm just kind of taking things easy here since, like I said, Eric did not get that energy drop on an Eternatus V turn 1. So I'm not really worried about Eric retaliating or really aggressing with his current board state. We do see that Eric's able to get an Eternatus V onto his bench, and I'm kind of sitting here waiting, wondering, okay, is he going to get an energy drop onto this thing? Instead, my hand gets Marnied, which doesn't really bother me that much because my hand was not super great. So it's kind of like, okay, that's fine. I had the Rare Candy Hydreigon, but I didn't really have anything else. And now that I get put into this hand with the Research, I'm like, that's cool. I don't have to worry about discarding the Retrieval before I want to. I had a Retrieval in my previous hand. With this hand, I could just go attach an energy somewhere on my board and use Professor's Research to draw some more cards. Now, it does look like Eric is digging for that Darkness Energy to attach to his bench. Eternatus V hasn't found one yet. If he doesn't find one this turn, he's going to be very far behind. Does find that Darkness Energy, though, to attach to the benched Eternatus. So his board is looking square. It's fine. He's a step behind, but sometimes going first in the Pokemon trading card game, since you can't play a supporter on the first turn of the game going first, you're going to start off on the back foot since you can't dig to go find those energy attachments that you you want. So in a lot of situations, going second, starting to look stronger and stronger in the current Pokemon metagame in standard format. I'm finding myself wanting to go second with a lot of decks. For that reason, I mean, not only do you get to attack on the first turn in the game going second, you get to play a supporter. More often than not, you're going to find the turn 1 energy drop because of the fact that you can play a supporter to dig for it, and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to drop an energy onto the Greninja and Zoroark Tag Team GX and let it rip with research. Sure enough, I do get into the Pokemon Communication and the Rare Candy. So I can use Pokemon Communication to go get myself the Hydreigon out of the deck, and then Rare Candy into it. And I've got a Dedenne GX as well, so I could just start squalling, which is super, super cool. So I'm very stoked about that. The Day change, we've got the Hydreigon. I'm just looking for a valid attacker. My Hoopa has free retreat, which is also great because I only have 2 copies of Switch in the deck. So with only 2 Switch in the deck, the odds of getting the Hoopa out of the active are just like not super fantastic. I'm just literally quick balling for anything, because I'm going to go and communicate it for the Hydreigon. So I'm getting the Hydreigon out of the deck. We've got the Rare Candy. We've got the Mewtwo and Mew. This is like the perfect hand that I could have researched into. We're putting the Mewtwo down, Dark Squall onto the Mewtwo, and then Day change, and we're going to see what we end up with this next turn. Now, I do have to be a little bit wary because Mewtwo can easily get knocked out by an Eternatus VMAX. So I have to ask myself, is it going to be optimal here to dig a little bit more? I have my Crobat V. I thought I had my Crobat V. No, I don't have Crobat V. I was going to say Eric's got Crobat V. So I still have Crobat V that I could go and dig with if I want it. Looks like I might just grab the Dedenne out of my deck, and I might just Rogue Ring again and go and get more resources into my hand, because I have to be very careful with my Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX, as Eric's deck can very easily knock it out in one hit. It's only got 270 HP. So with this Dedenne, I'm thinking that I might just accelerate a couple of energies and then Rogue Ring again, and hope that Eric does not have the Eternatus VMAX, an energy, and a boss's orders in his hand. His hand is not that big. Oh, I actually have enough energy. I love this play here. This is really good. We have the perfect amount of energy to knock out the Crobat. So we're just going to go in with the Greninja and Zoroark. That way I'm putting pressure on. I'm taking 2 prizes. And that Dark Pulse attack dealing a perfect 180 damage to take the knockout on the Crobat V, which puts a lot of pressure on Eric here. But Eric would have to evolve into the VMAX, right? Would have to knock out the Greninja and Zoroark. And then I have this power play that I can cook up where I go in with the Umbreon and Darkrai Dark Moon GX, take an automatic 1-hit KO on the Eternatus VMAX. But we see Eric sending me the Broken Heart there. That's giving me a little bit of, a relief. I'm like, wow, Eric doesn't have anything in that hand. That is some really bad beats. So I'm feeling pretty confident at this point in the match that I'm going to be able to take this game with Dark Box nonetheless. So really proud and excited of this Dark Box list. We had kind of concocted this deck on stream last week, and we've been playing it a lot. It's been a lot of fun to bring it into a competitive setting and really kind of see this deck thrive. Made me very happy. So I'm very stoked that the deck is doing well. And this is round 4 of the OmniPoke Online Play League. So at this point, I am 2-1 in best of 3 series. I had beat Trainer Chip and Rahul Reddy, and I had lost to Purple Cliff. So I'm 2-1. I have only 2 game losses because I just went 0-2 against Purple Cliff. However, I had 2-0'd both Trainer Chip and Rahul Reddy. So I was sitting at, I think you get 3 points for a win, and you get 1 point for a loss if you happen to win a game in the best of 3, and you get 0 points for a total loss. So I'm sitting at 6 points right now going into this match, which is pretty middle of the pack. There are like 20 or so content creators that are participating in the OmniPoke Online Play League. So it's really cool, really fun to be a part of it. They do a great job kind of showing off the various statistics week in and week out, and showing, what every player's record is and so on and so forth. So the goal is going to be to try and finish, I think, in like the top 3, top 5 of the OmniPoke Online Play League. I would really, of course, love to win. So we're trying our best to get that top spot. But at this point in the play, actually, Joe Omnipoke is the undefeated player at this point. So it looks like it looks like Joe is going to be the player to beat at this point. It is very early. I mean, only 3 or 4 rounds into the Omnipoke Online Play League. There's a lot of games to be had still. I'm going to make an aggressive play here. Eric doesn't have anything, so I'm just going to boss up a Crobat and get another guaranteed knockout on a Crobat since I do have my Mewtwo and Mew in the active. I know if I just boss up another Crobat, take 2 prizes guaranteed, Day-Day change, right? I'm going to go to just 2 prizes remaining, meaning that I can actually end the game if Eric decides to put his Eternatus VMAX in the active and I can knock it out. I actually do have all the energy that I need to Dark Moon, which is making me think like, okay, I could just Dark Moon this Crobat, right? And then just basically shut it down. Like there's no way Eric plays out of the Dark Moon play. I take 2 prizes on the Crobat, force Eric to not play any more trainers next turn, and really put a lot of pressure on. I know Eric is like drawing poorly, doesn't have any good trainers in his hand, so the Dark Moon may very well just kind of like make Eric throw up the white flag and go to the next game. So it looks like that is probably what I'm going to be doing here. I head for the Dark Moon GX. A little bit greedy. Could have just switched and could have just used Dark Pulse to take the knockout with the Greninja and Zoroark, leaving all of this energy here. At this point, I do have some concerns. I was like a little bit concerned if I go in, with the Greninja and Zoroark, that maybe something would get gusted, by Eric. But I know Eric's hand is like pretty poor right now. So I'm thinking that this is going to be our way of shutting it down. We Dark Moon. He has to feed me like, Eternatus V or Zigzagoon, and then I've got Eldegoss for boss in hand for game on like whatever else. So it's a pretty nice play here going with the Dark Moon GX, and we take that game 1 win against Eric. Now I got to figure out which of my 2 remaining decks am I going to bring to the table for game 2. Game 2, we are sticking with the darkness theme. Going to be playing Eternatus VMAX, the poison variant featuring Garbodor. We start a super wonky looking hand, and Eric chooses to go second. So I'm assuming that maybe Eric is playing some sort of fire deck. We're just going to attach to our Eternatus V and pass with this hand. Sure, I could have quick balled one of these cards away and used Crobat's Dark Asset for 1. That seemed like a very kind of poor use of my resources here, digging 1 card deeper with a Crobat V. Instead, I'm going to wait, evolve into Eternatus VMAX. I could then quick ball a card away, attach a second energy, and as we see, Eric Smith is playing a fire deck. We've got a Cinderace VMAX list, a super spicy Cinderace VMAX deck. If Eric plays something like a Giant Hearth, that's going to give me the opportunity to thin my hand down even further before I use Crobat's Dark Asset. So I definitely do not want to Dark Asset here with this hand because, Dark Asset for 1? I mean, that's a horrible feeling. Maybe Dark Asset for 2 even. It still feels horrible to use Dark Asset for 2. Well, quick ball away the Toxicroak and then, draw 2 cards. It's just, it's really low value there. So getting to evolve into the Eternatus VMAX will be much stronger for us. And attaching that second energy, playing down a lot of these cards that are unplayable on the first turn of the game is going to allow me to Dark Asset for many more cards, giving me a higher probability of being able to draw out of this super awkward looking hand that I have got currently. Now, Eric has got that Volcanion over on his bench. Going to be looking to get that into the active position so that he can go for the turn 1 Flare starter. Does start off with a Welder, so I'm like, okay, he's cooking here. He's got some things going on. Welder's onto the Dedenne, though, which immediately keys me into, like, there's Heatran in the deck. There's Heatran GX is definitely going to be in this deck list. Welder, you don't just Welder 2 fire onto a Dedenne GX unless you're kind of thinking of using Heatran GX, at some point later in the game. So kind of make a mental note of that. Dedenne is getting a lot of love here. And then Eric's also probably going to be going in for the turn 1 Flare starter, getting 3 more fire energies out of the deck with Flare starter. But the fact that Eric did start a Dedenne GX and now has to Dedenne again means that he's already got 2 Dedenne in play and still just his first turn of the game. throws down that Cinderace V. Now I know he's got the combo that he needs. He's got the Volcanion, doesn't find a switch, so has to hard retreat the Dedenne, and I like that because it's just one less energy that Eric now has in play to be able to power up cards like Heatran GX. So he's going to be going with the Flare Starter. It does have a Heat Fire energy on it, so the Volcanion is a little bit more tough to knock out than it would be otherwise, having a 140 HP. It looks like Eric is not done, though. Wants to Quick Ball away the other Volcanion, maybe get a second Cinderace, which makes sense that Eric would want to get his Cinderaces down so that then he can evolve either of them into a Cinderace VMAX this next turn. And I'm judging, again, by the fact that I'm seeing Heat Fire energy here, that Eric's deck is going to be a tankier version of Cinderace VMAX. I'm thinking this is going to be a Cinderace VMAX that has some healing in it or something like that. And we can see top deck Trubbish, immediately slam that down. I've got Quick Ball, I've got Toxicroak. I'm probably going to, at this point, I'm thinking I'm going to get rid of the Eternatus VMAX, and then I'm going to go look at how many energy I have left in the deck. Can I afford to Giant Hearth away this Darkness energy that's in my hand in order to draw more cards? And I'm kind of thinking, like, I really want to play a supporter. We've got 4 Darkness energy. I think I decided that's probably enough because I'm thinking about the fact that Eric is going to be making, and I'm deciding between the Toxicroak and the Darkness energy. I choose the Darkness energy because I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm going to need to do as much poison damage as possible to these Cinderace VMAXs since they're going to have a very large amount of HP. Sure enough, we do not draw into a draw supporter, but I do have a Boss's Orders and a Crobat again for next turn. So I'm like, all right, no more draw, but it's cool. I do have the Eternatus VMAX, thankfully, and I've got a couple other bench Pokemon. I know that Eric will probably not be able to one-hit KO my Eternatus VMAX this next turn. Of course, there is always Heatran GX to worry about. But I do bring up the Cinderace V, and we go ahead and smack that for 120 damage. So now Eric's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 energy in play. I know that Eric will need the Welder Double Fire in order to get that Heatran GX play going. So I'm really hoping that Eric does not have Welder in this hand so that my Eternatus VMAX does not get KO, because if this Eternatus VMAX goes down this turn, I do not have anything built up to be able to respond. We did not draw into any Quick Balls, Pokemon Communications, Great Balls, things like that to go dig out another Eternatus V out of the deck. So this Eternatus VMAX and the actives, all we got. But I am feeling good that we were able to put some pressure on this Cinderace V. We've softened it up. I know that since this is a tanky list that Eric is running, it is probably going to be a 2-hit KO kind of game. We do see that Eric decided to put the Heat Fire energy onto the Volcanion. It's going to be retreating and probably going in with a High Heat Blast just to try and soften up my Eternatus VMAX, and then immediately evolves his benched, undamaged Cinderace V into a Cinderace VMAX, and doesn't want to evolve the damaged Cinderace V into a VMAX because obviously then it would just be like an easy 3 prizes for me. So, he's kind of saying like, all right, if you want to use Boss's Orders to bring up the damaged Cinderace V, you're only taking 2 prizes for it. I think that's a really heads up play, evolving the other one instead. Again, getting more mileage out of Giant Hearth. Still have not been able to find a draw supporter yet, but we are chugging along. I do find an Eternatus V, and I find a Darkness energy, so I actually don't even really care, because then I've got the, Eternatus VMAX in my hand as well. I have enough Pokemon in play to be able to knock out the active Volcanion, so we're really just chilling. I don't really draw the most amazing hand in the world, but I'm drawing the absolute bare minimum that I would like to see every single turn, which is proving to be just enough. And at 110 damage here with Eternatus, I know that Cinderace VMAX caps out at dealing 190 damage with its attack. It deals 170 plus burn. Burn does 20 damage. So the fact that I've got the Eternatus VMAX, a Darkness energy, and a switch all in my hand already, I'm very excited, because I know that, at worst, Eric hits me for 190 damage and I'm burned and I stay burned, and then I've got the switch already into a fresh Eternatus VMAX, or I could switch into the Eternatus V, communicate the VMAX, go and grab myself another Crobat and just continue drawing cards. So at this point, I'm wondering what Eric's play is going to be, what Eric's line is going to be. Does he find the Welder Double Fire onto the benched Cinderace VMAX. He does counter my Power Plant. Power Plant is important in this matchup, even though I don't think that Eric is going to be using Day-Day Change anymore since he already has 2 Dedenne GX in play. Probably doesn't run a third. I would guess it's like probably 2 Dedenne GX and like a Crobat or something like that. The Power Plant does stop Heatran GX's Burning Road ability, though, which is really strong because, again, that is like the one thing in Eric's deck that he can use to take a huge one-hit knockout on my Eternatus VMAX. Kind of just like stow some fire energies in play and then pivot to that Heatran GX and use that Hot Burn GX to take a gigantic one-hit knockout. So we are always kind of thinking about the Heatran GX in the back of our mind. How many energy does Eric have in play? He's got 4 in play right now. He would only need, what, 1 more energy in order to take the knockout with Heatran GX because he could deal 250 damage. 250 plus 110 would be 360, taking the knockout on my Eternatus. But if he does that, he takes all of the other energy out of, off of his board and focuses it all into one Heatran GX. So if he does do that, he kind of creates a very easy target for me to be able to knock out and then remove all of the energy from. Since Heatran GX has only got 190 HP, we would pretty easily be able to take that knockout with our backup Eternatus V in the next turn. We do see that Eric is able to Welder and finds the Heat Fire energy for his bench Cinderace VMAX. I think it's got 340 HP now. I'm kind of coming to the realization that I'm never going to one-hit KO any of these big Cinderace VMAXs, right? Because where I'm seeing, the Heat Fire energies, I'm guessing there might also be Big Charms in the deck, and I'm kind of, coming to the realization that it is just going to be a 2-hit KO game. But I think that I'm in a great spot with this 2-hit KO game that we are playing because I've got a Eternatus VMAX in the active that I don't think that he's going to be able to KO this turn. And I've already softened up one of his Cinderaces that has a couple of energy on it. I've already taken 1 prize, so I'm ahead in the prize trade. I'm ahead in the damage situation. My board position is strong, and I'm generally just feeling very good about where we're at. So I'm gonna see what we end up drawing into here. I top deck another Eternatus VMAX, so I'm like, that's fantastic because now I can guarantee just attack with this fresh Eternatus VMAX, force Eric to boss up that damaged Eternatus VMAX if he wants to take 3 prizes. And I like that play because it's not incurring any risk. If I trade away the Eternatus VMAX to go get a Crobat, there's no promise that I draw back into another Eternatus VMAX to be able to attack. So I was really happy about that top deck. And we do find Crushing Hammer and another boss. And I'm kind of thinking to myself here, is the optimal play to just boss up the Cinderace on Eric's side of the field, knock it out? Or is the optimal play to research and try to dig and do as much damage as we can? At this point, I'm kind of realizing that I have not found any Croagunks, so I'm really not going to be doing that much damage with Eternatus VMAX's Dread End attack. I'm never going to get that 330, 320 damage Dread End. We're kind of just going to be chugging along here, 2-hit KOing these Cinderaces, but I'm feeling pretty good about this. We play the Power Plant down. I still haven't seen the Heatran yet, so I'm thinking to myself, okay, in order, it could go badly, right? This could go badly, but we've got the Power Plant, and if Eric is able to summon a Heatran, right, get Heatran GX, Welder Double Fire, then he can, he's got 4 energy in play right now. If he gets 3 more energy in play, Welder Double Fire and the attachment from hand, he'll be able to have the magic 7 energy that he needs in play in order to knock out my Eternatus VMAX. So I was really hoping that we were going to hit that Crushing Hammer to keep Eric out of the realm of possibility of hitting that 7 energy Heatran GX. But we are kind of hopeful with the Power Plant that maybe the Power Plant will stop Heatran's Burning Road ability from working. We do see that Eric has a Quick Ball, and I'm thinking to myself, it is going to be Heatran GX. We're very worried that it's going to be Heatran GX. This could make my whole game plan fall apart if Eric is able to get a huge Heatran going. And then I am left with an attacker that only has 50 hit points left to try and take the remainder of the game. I mean, a single Volcanion from Unbroken Bonds could take out my Eternatus VMAX with that High Heat Blast. Not even a boosted High Heat Blast, just a regular High Heat Blast could take me out. But he does go for Volcanion, so I'm like, okay, well, maybe there's no Heatran then if he's going to use Quick Ball for the Volcanion. That's me kind of, thinking wishfully, and then there comes the Heatran GX. So I'm like, okay, this is my nightmare. We're worried about the Heatran. Does he have the play? He's going to Crobat for it. If he Crobats into another stadium, could play the stadium, maybe a Welder in the stadium, that's going to give him a pretty high chance of being able to find the cards that he needs. But, given the amount of time here that Eric is thinking about it, I'm thinking that probably did not find the Welder Double Fire switch in that hand, with the Giant Hearth Stadium to counter my Power Plant to bring that Burning Road back onto the table. So Eric is kind of just going through it, figuring out like how does he respond to what I'm doing? If Eric doesn't have the one-hit KO my Eternatus VMAX this turn, what's his next best option? He's got all 6 prizes left to take. He will eventually have to knock out that damaged Eternatus VMAX on my bench, but leaving a completely healthy Eternatus VMAX in the active position also feels really bad, especially if Eric does not have a backup Cinderace ready to go. If Eric doesn't bench a backup Cinderace, it means that this is going to be the only 3 prize Pokemon that I have to worry about for the remainder of the match. It's just a matter of swinging in. But then I got to find my final boss's orders out of the deck. This is the Poison Eternatus list. It only runs 3 copies of boss's orders, and I know that I've already played 2 of them, meaning that if I swing into this Cinderace VMAX, then I have to find, my final boss's orders to be able to win the game. And I've got a pretty big deck. Keep in mind, I have not played a draw supporter yet this game. Eric does go in with the Hot Burn GX, but not the Hot Burn GX he wishes he had. He goes in with the 1 energy Hot Burn GX. Boss's orders my bench Eternatus, and I'm okay with this play. This honestly, I'm fine with this because I'm like, okay, I've got a completely clean Eternatus VMAX here. I can put an energy onto the bench Eternatus. I can knock out this Heatran, and I just feel completely at ease using research. I'm going to dig as far as I can into the deck with the intention of finding a game-winning boss's orders. Now, what's scary about this, and I'm considering not putting the Croagunk down, because I'm like, if I put the Croagunk down, Eric comes up with the Cinderace VMAX, then I need to find boss or I lose, because his Cinderace VMAX is going to swing into my Eternatus VMAX. And if he swings into my Eternatus VMAX, then I swing into his Cinderace, then he swings into my Eternatus again, then I lose the game. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I don't have the game-winning boss in my hand right now. I know it's in the deck, though. So I have to take these 2 prizes and put myself in a position where I am as likely as possible to draw that game-winning boss's orders right there off of a Crobat V. So I cannot put another Pokemon on my bench. I already know that. I've got the Toxicroak ready for next turn. That's fine. And I'm thinking we're just going to Dread End here and take the knockout on the Heatran. I'm going to evolve that Croagunk into a Toxicroak next turn. And then we're going to use a combination of Quick Ball, Pokemon Communication, Great Ball to pair our hand all the way down and use Crobat's Dark Asset for as many cards as we can. Now, we are taking 2 cards here off of the prizes, and I'm hoping that they're playable cards. They're not super playable cards. I've got Switch and I've got a Research. So the Research feels really bad to get there because it doesn't help me find that game-winning boss's orders. And I can't, obviously research boss's orders in the same turn. So we're just sitting here hoping that I can pair my hand all the way down and dig for the game-winning cards. And with 18 cards left in deck, I'm not feeling super confident that we're going to find that third boss's orders because, I was thinking, earlier, before the Research, I was like, oh yeah, with a Research and a Crobat, I'll probably be able to find the game-winning boss. But since I didn't find it off the Research, and we didn't find any way to help grab it off the prizes, now I'm looking at the 18 cards left in my deck, like, the Crobat has to get us there, which is one of the reasons I really love playing 4 copies of Boss's Orders in Eternatus, because it can really help you find those game-winning cards. Now, I was thinking to myself, like, okay, if Eric Marnies me here, actually increases my odds of being able to find the game-winning boss's orders. So we top deck another unplayable card, which is a Research. And at this point, I'm like, all right, pack it up. There's no way. I top decked another unplayable card, which feels absolutely horrible, right? I've got the Crobat V, which I can grab off the Great Ball, then I can Quick Ball and fail it, and then I can, Pokemon Communicate. I think I'm going to Quick Ball away the research, obviously, and then we're going to Pokemon Communicate. And what's really, really, really bad is that the Switch is not a burnable card, right? So, like, I'm thinking to myself, the Switch is just dead weight here because I've got this Eternatus VMAX, right? But it doesn't have an energy on it. So if I play the Switch, then I have to hit Boss's Orders and switch off of my Crobat V. So I'm just locked in. I'm like, okay, do you switch into the Eternatus VMAX and Crobat for 4? Or do you just Crobat for 3? And the answer is to Crobat for 3 because you want to hit a 1-card combo off a Crobat for 3 instead of a 2-card combo off a Crobat for 4. So you go 3, we hit the boss, and we win the game and the series. Very lucky grab there off the Crobat. I was prepared to Marnie and hope that Eric did not have the game-winning Boss's Orders, but we were able to find it there off of that game-winning Dark asset. Boss's Orders for game. Good games to Eric Smith. And that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like the video, sub to the channel, ring that bell, and of course, check out the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/TrickyJim, where I stream live Pokemon trading card game content every single weekday. After round 4 here, I am tied at 3rd place in the league with 3 other content creators. We have 9 points right now, just 3 points behind the top player in the league so far, Joe Omnipoke, who I happen to be paired against this week. So very much looking forward to my round against Joe. If I win, we are going to be able to put ourselves into a great position to potentially take the 1st place spot so far in the Omnipoke Online Play League. So stay tuned for more exciting Pokemon trading card game action, and I'll catch you guys all next time. Peace.